Hey guys, Slam is still here for Fantinuum, and today we're going to cover the second of DC's press events at Comic-Con 2018. So stay tuned and get ready for Sanctuary. So DC already holds amazing press events, and this year was no different. In fact, this year is probably the craziest year ever. Because why? As I mentioned in a previous video, DC's second event was just completely insane. And the reason being was because it's completely immersive. So for the second event, the title was basically called Heroes in Crisis, which is basically the same title as the 7-issue limited series that will debut on September 26, 2018. That will be written by Tom King and drawn by Clay Mann. So Heroes in Crisis is basically a story about where superheroes go in their moment of crisis. Now, the whole storyline has so far been sort of a mystery, and so this press event was sort of a surprise for all of us. In fact, Tom King was basically there with Clay Mann and actually special guest Mitch Gerrits, who is actually with Tom King's run right now. He's the artist on Tom King's current run on Mr. Miracle. So both of them were there. But we actually got the nitty-gritty of actually what Heroes in Crisis will be about, and that's what this whole event was dedicated to. And so we're going to go into detail of this whole press event. And so I'm going to start off in chronological order of basically the whole experience from when we got there to the very end. And like I said, it was completely immersive and just amazing. I mean, I thought DC already did a great job in the previous event the day before, which I covered in a previous video. But this one was just pretty much off the hook. So basically, we started off by going to the Embarcadero Marina Park South in San Diego, and what we later found out was this was another yacht event, which is sort of like they had a yacht event last year for 2017, and that one had Jeff Johns on it, and that was for their current Doomsday Clock. Basically event. So that's what they actually had it for. So it was another yacht event. So when we got there, we sort of saw, like, we were still waiting. We got there a little bit early, and we basically saw people that were still taking people's names, and everybody on staff from BH Impact, which is the PR company that works with DC, and also DC's own staff members, I think they were all dressed in white. So we were like, something's up, right? So everybody's dressed in white, and they're on a yacht, and the yacht was like basically had the DC logo on it, which is, you know, what you see right here, basically the same logo. So yeah, so we knew something was up. So when they started checking people in, they started handing people bracelets, and I guess those were our passes. So I'm not sure if this will come out completely clear, but you can take a look right there. I'll try to post a picture of it in post if this doesn't come out too clear. But this is sort of what that bracelet looked like, and we were supposed to wear this, and that was basically how we gained access onto the yacht. And basically we got in, and it got pretty much insane from there, and it's a good insanity. So we started seeing people get white robes, and we were like, what's this all about? So what they did was, according to the whole theme of Heroes in Crisis, is which I'll get into later, it's basically a place where heroes can escape, and basically it's like a retreat where they get treatment for mental health issues and things like that, you know, where they go to recharge. So basically we all got white bathrobes with the DC logo on it, and those were for us to keep to take home. So I have mine right here, and I'm going to show you guys. So check this out. So this is what they handed us. They asked us for a size. And basically right here on the front part, you got that really nice gold embroidered, you can see it clearly, DC logo, and on the back, look at that, very, very prominent, broad gold DC lettering right there. So we all wore this, and we got on the boat. And basically when we entered, it was not really a full spread breakfast, and it wasn't really a heavy breakfast, but I could see why they didn't do bacon and eggs and all those things like that. because again, this is like a retreat, right? So when you think of a retreat, you think of places to recharge, everything's refreshing. So it's like cucumber water, things like that. So what they had there was like oatmeal, stuff like chia seed pudding, juice, coffee, tea, and lots of fruit and stuff like that. So everything was tied in, planned very carefully for the theme. So that was already awesome. It was already immersive right there. Before the event started, we got to mingle with sort of Tom King, and then there were two people following him with gold masks on, right? So we were like, who are these guys? And the joke was, we all thought that, those were his bodyguards, plural, because as you guys know, that, definitely, I was fine with Batman number 50, but there are some, let's say, kind of like nutcase fans out there who weren't too happy with storylines, so they got a lot out of hand and started making death threats towards Tom King. So DC actually did assign him a bodyguard, and so, but those two weren't, and we later found out that when the gold masks were removed, there was actually Mitch Gerrits and Clay Mann, and they basically were the artists, and so it was pretty funny, pretty immersive. And the gold masks, I'll get into later, they do play into the whole storyline, so that was pretty cool. So after we mingled, that's when the actual event actually started. They took us to the deck of the yacht where we were seated, and then it was very meditative. So we sort of got the whole, you got the singing bowls, those very ambient sounds. Everything was quiet, and there was this voice announcing, they probably got some voice actor to do it, but very sort of serene voice, almost cultish like, saying welcome to Sanctuary. It's for, this place, I forgot what the exact words were, but it's here where you can, make peace with yourself and things like that and get treatment. It was just a constant sort of a hypnotic loop of that voice saying that. So again, very immersive. Tom was basically at the front, and basically seated us, and basically I took a very back one, so I got a full view of everything. And Tom King was seated in the center stage in the front, and with Mitch Gerrits and I think Clay Mann still in gold masks, and I think they flanked him on each side. And then he sort of made a speech, and basically Tom King got pretty personal in this event. He actually revealed some very personal things and issues and about his own mental health and things like that, and how that tied into his story for Heroes in Crisis. And I think that's actually pretty cool because I'm a writer myself, and I feel that they always have the adage of you should always write what you know, and I think Tom King really wrote from the heart on this one. So I'm really interested in seeing, what the allegories are when the story is published and we get to read it and visit it. But yeah, so he actually went into this sort of a 6-minute, very sort of personal story about what triggered the story and what triggered his own sort of crisis. And I think, instead of me talking about it, I have a video of it, of exactly that speech, a very heartfelt speech. So why don't we just go check it out right now.
Some of y'all have heard this before, but I never talked about it that much. I had my own crisis. I had my own, I don't know what they probably call nervous breakdown or something. So this was my wife's birthday, so I know the day, April 21st, 2016. I'm out with my family. I got 3 kids and my wife, and we're just at a hamburger joint, and we're having good, and everything's going well. Because, like I said, I'm about to start on Batman, I'm about to finish Vision, I'm about to finish Sheriff. I'm on top of the world. And then all of a sudden, I'm just in this hamburger joint, and my chest burns on fire. And I don't know what's going on, and I think there's something wrong with me, there's something deeply wrong with me. And my wife takes me outside, and my kids take me outside, and you never want your kids to say this, but my kids are like, "What's wrong, Daddy?" Like, they literally said those words, like I couldn't write something more depressing, and I write really depressing shit. And then the world started. I got that tunnel vision, that blackout thing coming at me, and I just thought this was it. I was leaving this earth. I've talked about this about Mr. Miracle. What I didn't talk about, so then my wife got me in the car, and we drove to the emergency room. And we arrive at the emergency room, and my father calls me. My father and I aren't close, so he never calls me, so that's weird. And he's like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing great, except for the emergency room and the death and all that shit." And my dad's like, "I gotta tell you something. Your grandma," I was raised with my grandma, died. She passed away. She died that day. And I had to get out of the emergency room and leave my kids and go in and go up to a doctor and look in my eyes and with my grandma's death inside me and my own insanity, and I had to tell the doctors, like, I think I'm having a panic attack or I'm dying. So doctor, you have to tell me if I'm either dead or insane, and I hope I'm insane. And the doctor's like, yeah, you're crazy. And I was the most relieved I've ever been to be crazy. But then what happened next is what this is about. I had not a bad year, I had a good year, everything was going well, but I had a bad year because I feel like I'm a tough guy, you know, like, or at least I think of myself, you know, I've been overseas, you know, I've done some hard things, you know, I've fought some wars, and I was broken. I didn't realize how brittle I was. I just didn't realize that, like, I couldn't catch my breath. I'd get weird pains. I couldn't focus. There was something wrong with me. My hands would start shaking. And in the midst of all of that, you know, you still have to hit your deadlines. You can't let your kids see you that way. And you're falling apart on the inside, and on the outside, you have to be a dad. You have to be who you are. But still, you're just shaking. And so for the last 2 years, I spent my life trying to put myself back together, trying to see what that was about. Was it, you know, childhood stuff? Was it being in the war? What sort of moment of violence, what sort of moment of discontinuity cracked me? And that process has been revelatory. And the big thing I've learned from that process is that I'm not alone. I know that's a stupid cliche thing to say, but I don't fucking care. I like cliches. I write Batman. He says I'm Batman sometimes. But the idea that we can reach out to each other, that I can tell somebody, you know, like I can say to somebody, you know, look, I used to fight Al Qaeda, and also sometimes I can't get my hand to stop shaking. Like those two things can be true. You can be a man and also be a little weak. You can be a man and still love your family, and still say that I got help and I got through this with help. So, in fact, to me, having watched sort of my father's generation run away from that help and sort of embrace ponytails and fast cars when they hit that moment, I feel like we can go a different way, especially in this time of anxiety, that we can go to each other, we can lean on each other and find strength in each other in a way to fight back all of this stuff. And I think something else that helped me think about this was that Superman went through this, man. Batman went through this. Wonder Woman went through this. And I just started thinking about it and thinking about the lives they've lived. Thinking about Batman watching his second son die and holding him in his arms. Thinking about Superman when he's, 21, he has to give up his identity. He's not Clark Kent anymore because he can't be Clark Kent because Clark Kent's too much like Superman. But he can't be Superman because Superman's too much like Clark Kent. So he can't be anybody. He has to live in two different identities and try to navigate that. Or I think about a Wonder Woman, a woman raised in an entirely different culture, raised to be a warrior, trying to bring peace to our country, and her finding compassion in that. Her having to always be the strong one. Like, well, Batman and Superman are always whining. You never see Wonder Woman whining, right? Like, she has to keep that shit to herself. And I find inspiration in that, and then I wanted to write about that. I wanted to sort of write about how they got there, that they didn't just get there by being the silent, tough types. They got there by going through something, the same thing I went through, by leaning on people, by helping people, and then after getting that help, helping people. And that's when I thought, I feel like I discovered Sanctuary. Sanctuary's been here. It's the most obvious idea that they would create a place for these people who have lived these violent lives. So that if you've gone out and you saved 6 people that day, but you didn't save the 7th, you don't go home, and that breaks you, because that'll break you. I remember one time I was in Afghanistan and I did something, I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever done. I pulled off something, and we were literally in the cover of every newspaper in the country, and I found out the next day I missed something even better. And it broke me. It just broke me that I could have saved someone else. I know that sounds fucking arrogant, but it does break you to not be able to save people. And the idea that Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman would work to help those people and would create a place for them to have help seems the most obvious idea I've ever come up with. So that's Sanctuary.
So that was just a small excerpt of Tom talking about the Heroes in Crisis and what sort of triggered that sort of story and sort of or inspired him to write that. So he actually went on deeper into what Sanctuary is about, and he actually got into more detail about Sanctuary. And Sanctuary is actually a place where the DC heroes can actually heal. It's a mental health retreat, and it's sort of and it looks like an isolated farmhouse with very advanced, very amazing technology. And this farmhouse is actually based on his grandmother's home where she was actually born in. So, and of course, the excerpt that showed you, he does reference his grandmother, and she was a big part of his life. So he basically incorporated her story, sort of parts, elements of what he had experienced into this storyline. So that makes it sort of special. The place was basically designed by Batman with Kryptonian technology, with Wonder Woman's compassion being the basis of what powers Sanctuary's artificial intelligence, which is what actually is it's sort of the ones giving the treatment to the various heroes. And as I said before, the gold masks do play into the whole immersive feeling of this event, because the gold mask in the story actually deals with superhero identity. So when the superheroes actually enter Sanctuary, they're given gold masks and white robes, just like the ones we were given. We weren't given gold masks though, but they're given gold masks to actually preserve their identity so that they can get treatment without risking them or having the fear of losing their identities, right? So yeah, so that's pretty cool. So the superheroes actually get their treatment via like a holographic suite. So what they do is the person that or the character that's seeking treatment, they'll be confronted with their fears in sort of a very, very safe manner, and so they can battle their demons and get the help that they need in these holographic suites. So they use technology to basically help the heroes recharge, or basically, help them out through their mental, health issues and their crisis. But if this story was just about, Justice League during Spa Day, or Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman, or all these heroes, just going out for oh, let's go to let's talk to a therapist, or let's do things like that, it would not be a very exciting story. So of course there's going to be an inciting incident, there's going to be an event, a conflict that basically thrusts the story sort of forward or puts the story into motion. And that's the fact that Sanctuary will have a mass shooting, and basically it's going to be an all-out massacre. And this massacre is actually an allegory, and Tom mentions this. Tom actually, last year I talked to Tom King at SDCC or Comic-Con 2018, and he did mention fleetingly that for the past year he sort of had a panic attack, and sort of he basically woke up to all this news that he's been hearing, just our news, all these crazy things happening in the world. And of course, everybody knows, like 2018, 2017 has not been a very normal period of time for anybody, right? There's a lot of craziness out there. But Tom sort of had a panic attack during those events, because he just felt like what's the world coming to, what's happening. So this sort of this massacre that he wrote into the story is an allegory for the feeling of this post 9/11 false sense of safety. And if you guys didn't know, Tom King was also a former CIA agent, counterterrorism expert that fought against Al Qaeda. So after graduating college in 2000, he worked for the CIA, and he actually went on operations to fight terrorism. And so he sort of has sort of like a firsthand experience in a lot of these things. So post 9/11, we were never safe. That's what he was saying. But we sort of got, after fighting for a decade, we had this false sense of security. And recently, we sort of lost that false sense. So we're plunged back into this panic mode. And so that's sort of what he wrote into Sanctuary. So basically, Sanctuary is being protected by Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Trinity, which are actually the most powerful, strongest heroes in the universe, right? So if this place is being guarded by these three, and there's still a massacre, then what's the world coming to? Like, where can we be safe? So that sort of is a great allegory to basically sort of tell us what the hell is going on. So that's a pretty good catalyst to thrust the story forward. And so he actually goes on and says that, you know, when a person actually leaves Sanctuary, they're given a pin, which is actually designed by the series artist, which is designed by Clay Mann. And actually, we actually got this pin, again, an immersive experience, when we left the yacht. So basically, I got it right here. And again, if this doesn't show up really well, and if it's a little blurry, let me see. Should come into focus. I will post another picture of this in post and see if I can get that to you guys. So basically, what this sort of represents, if you guys can see it, if I turn it just this way a little bit, this might be a little bit better. So what you can see here is you can probably see like an S here, or this way. That S, of course, represents Superman's insignia, and also the S stands for Sanctuary. And the three hands grabbing onto the S in that circular fashion it actually represents the Trinity, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. That's a pretty cool design. It's simple, and you know, it's pretty elegant, and you know, it gets the meaning across. So that is pretty cool. And so we all the press people got this, and I read somewhere that I think they also had a panel, and a couple of lucky fans also got one of those Sanctuary pins. Yeah. So the series actually doesn't just star Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Trinity, but it also has Booster Gold and Harley Quinn, which play a pretty integral part of the story. So it's just not the original DC Trinity. Yeah. So basically, the first issue will be released on September 25th, 2018. I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah. So Heroes in Crisis is basically, you know, a very personal story for Tom. So I think, yeah, I think it's pretty exciting to see where this is going to be headed. And it's going to be 7 issues, and it's going to go into 2019. Yeah. So again, this event was, I mean, as you can see, was completely just insane and sort of off the hook, because it's just DC just completely immersed you into that sort of environment, so that you really felt what Tom was getting at. So yeah, so again, thank you, DC. Thank you, BH Impact. If you guys don't know, BH Impact is actually the PR company that DC works with to arrange all these things, and you know, they always top each other every year, so it's pretty amazing. So of course, this one, I'm excited to see what DC has next. But yeah, so that's it. So these were 2 of DC's events at SDCC 2018, or Comic-Con 2018. So yeah, awesome. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, this is Slam of Steel for Fantinuum, signing out.